Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for joining us today. My name is Juch Nam, Executive Director of AMCHAM. Welcome to the second session of the Human Resources Virtual Seminar Series. We want to thank all of you for your incredible support for the last session, which covered the topic of enhancing employee well-being during the COVID-19 pandemic. Today, we will be discussing the topic of career opportunities amid the COVID-19 pandemic. As we all know, this pandemic has greatly exacerbated the unemployment situation worldwide, and job seekers are increasingly forced to rely on unconventional methods to apply for jobs to get a competitive edge. On the other side of the equation, it is becoming more difficult for HR managers to find the right candidate for their companies. Now, this session of the Human Resources Virtual Seminar Series will cover hiring trends in today's economy, tools that we can use to build your company brand and identify the candidates, as well as different methods of searching for jobs and enhancing employability. We have three great experts covering different areas of the APAC region with us today. First is Ngee Chan, Senior Consultant of PERSOLKELLY Consulting, as well as Anna, Account Executive of Korea Linked APAC, and also Shokhrukh Jobborov, Executive Recruitment Consultant of Kelly Services Korea. And before we begin, I'd like to thank especially our HR committee co-chairs for yet another important meeting. Please stay tuned for the third session as well, coming up soon. But I just want to remind all of you guys, to submit your questions to the Q&A feature of the chat box as you listen to today's seminar. Now, without further ado, it is my pleasure to hand over to Yumi Jun, Managing Director of Kelly Services Korea, and also our HR committee co-chair. The floor is yours.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Wow, it's so honored to have a chance to second, our webinar. And as you know, we started our first webinar on October last month, and about safety and the well-being issues, during this COVID status, and that read A1, and it was an amazing section. And today we are going to talk about the most difficult thing, job searching part. So. And our co-chairs, they give us quite a lot of knowledge, and we shared it together, and we found out this fantastic subject. So today section is as shared, pandemic status, how we can get a job. But there is the right answer, also tip, and great advices from our three today's special guests. They are the specialized each industries. So Nikki is specialized in coaching, advisory side, and Anna is, of course, from LinkedIn. She's covering, all the data related things from, APAC point of view, LinkedIn. And Shok is he's a headhunter. He's a superstar in Kelly Services. Definitely, he will give right tips to us, how to get a job, right? So enjoy today's section, and let's start with Nikki. So. Nikki is, let me briefly introduce about the Nikki. Nikki has more than 25 experience in this coaching, career advisory, and career counseling part. I mean, his previous experience from A1 Hewitt, also Hewlett Packard, is based on his experience. He is really, got a lot of track records and a good result. Based on that, he will covering today about how we can differentiate ourselves. So 3R strategy, so recruitment related things. So what's the 3R? So let's hear from Nikki. So Nikki,
hi.
Thank you so much for sharing your time and joining from Singapore. I know even though basically you are in Singapore and covering entire APAC, but I know you have quite a lot of experience in Korean market as well. So with your knowledge and insight, please share your knowledge and the experiences. So let us get a better job and new job. Thank you so much. It's your chance. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Yumi. Let me just share my slides. Okay, great. So thank you so much, Yumi, for the introduction. And I think this is actually one of the most popular topics that have been asked in terms of career opportunities in the COVID-19. So I'm going to give you a little bit introduction, and also what is the 3R for job search success. So the question is, can you still find a new job during this pandemic situation? The answer is yes, you can. The world is still need talented people like you, and organizations still need to run the operation. So they need to find the right people. Okay. The only thing is because nowadays a lot of companies are maybe freezing the headcount, but there are still companies that are hiring, and that is why it's important to uncover them. And I'm going to share a little bit about the strategies, how to uncover these, what we call the hidden job opportunities. So, and actually this is the lockdown, I would say, is more like the chance for us to reflect, okay, to kind of reassess what matters most in your life. Okay, and I could say this is actually an opportunity to find a great job that's more suitable for your talents, for your purpose, and also your ambitions. Something that you thought of maybe when you're too busy with your work, right? You can't really sit down and reflect what you want in your next career journey. But this is actually a good time for you to think about it. So without further ado, let me just introduce these 3R, which Yumi have mentioned, the 3R for job search success. So the first is about reflect, and then followed by reset. And finally, we're talking about reinvent. Okay, this word reinvent has been coming up for so many times from different expertise. So let me just jump in. What do you mean by reflect? Okay, so what do you mean by reflect? So I want you to take the time to pause. So I'm sure that most of us are so busy with your career, with your work, with your projects, and meetings, right? Zoom after Zoom, MS Team under MS Team. So you don't have time to really sit down and pause. So this pandemic actually causes a big impact on the economy. At the same time, it also kind of like corrects certain things in terms of the industry, in terms of the talent acquisition. So this is a time to pause, to think about what? To think about what are the industries that are actually slowing down and what are the industries that are growing. So you might want to focus on the industries that are growing and look at what roles, okay, are they obsolete? What roles are actually in demand? So with the AI technology coming up, automation, machine learning, what are the jobs there that are still at least safe for the next 5 to 10 years? So you need to think about that. And also, do you have the necessary skills, expertise? And if you do not have it, you have to identify what are the skills that you lack of. And then there are so many resources out there, like Coursera, for you to take up the courses. So there is no excuse of not upgrading yourself or reskill your talents. And of course, finally, it's a very good time for you to really reflect your next career move. And then we go into this word called reset. What do you mean by reset? Okay, does it look familiar to you? So this is actually a usual way of job application, like what most of the people does. First of all, they identify a job on a website, a portal, and then they send in their resume, and then they hopefully invited for an interview, and of course, hope for a job offer. So this is actually the usual way of job application. But I'm going to introduce you a new way. I would not say a new way, but a way that have been neglected because probably previously there's a lot of jobs available. So probably you might not want to use that technique. But because of the pandemic situation, well, this is a good time to reconsider this technique. And I'm going to share with you today. The new way is called the networking strategy. So look at the table on the right side. So first of all, you talk about reach out to a mutual contact. So who are the mutual contact? Those people who are either in your desired positions, your in desired field, your desired industry, and also your potential hiring managers, your decision makers. Okay, and once you reach out to them, hopefully they will get you introduced to the company, answer you have more questions, and then you follow by chat with them over coffee. So with the pandemic situation, I'm sure Korea side, you may not able to meet the person physically in a cafe, but you can always do it in Zoom. Okay, there's a lot of online video tools that you can actually get in touch with. And then once you informally chat with them, when you do the warm application, and then after that, you have a warm interview. Warm interview means that you already talked to the person, you know the person pretty well. And then when he invite you over, you kind of like don't feel so uncomfortable. You feel like you already know the person well. So it's kind of natural interview. I would say not interview anymore. It's like a chit chat to find out whether you mutually fit within the position as well as the candidate itself. And then of course with that, job offer will be much higher. So this is actually, I will not say it's a new way, but the way that has been neglected for a long time. So right now with the pandemic situation, this is a good time for you to pick up this strategy and implement it. Okay, so the question is, why networking? Again, first of all, it's a very effective job search method if it is done correctly. Okay, if it's done wrongly, it will not be effective, and probably you may say that networking is not my cup of tea. So, but you want to do a networking is actually an ongoing process of obtaining from your personal contacts industry information. Okay, industry information, especially for those who want to switch to a new career or switch to a new industry. This is important to get the facts and figures and data, pretty accurate data, so that when you want to move to the new industry, you know exactly what is it needed from you. And of course, ultimately, the objective is to lead to job leads, okay? Unadvertised openings, hidden jobs, what they say. And of course, the whole process here, the key point is, does not involve asking anyone for a job. Not yet. The reason is because you have not built the rapport, the trust. But once you build the rapport and trust with the contact, you can subtly ask for any person that you can talk to, which will bring you closer to your job opportunity. Because a lot of jobs may be hidden, and that's where networking kind of uncover these kind of hidden jobs. Okay, so now the final word is reinvent. What do you mean by reinvent? I'm going to share with you what is the whole networking process. And they are actually 5 steps of the networking process. So first of all, you not think about creating your networking profile. Okay, instead of a resume, because this is a networking strategy, you may want to create a networking profile instead. So what does this networking profile consist of? Okay, it will consist of your summary, and it consists of your expertise. You also include your accomplishments, your success stories, and then you include target positions, whether you are looking at vice president, executive director, marketing director, e-commerce manager. And then you talk about industries. What are the industries that attracts you? Is it FMCG? Is it financial and banking? Is it logistics? Is it internet, fintech? What is it? And of course, the last thing is the name of companies that you are keen to join. So you may want to generate maybe about 20 to 30 companies that you are keen to, regardless of whether they have openings or not, because this is when you kind of generate a list of companies, you kind of form your idea of what kind of company that attract you, what kind of culture, what kind of management leadership style you prefer, and what kind of role that you will be in this company itself. Okay, and then next is about setting up the meeting. So you write an email. So this is more like a permission-based marketing email. So what does the objective of this email is basically to get permission to seek their advice, to ask 3 to 5 questions that related to what you want to understand, probably in terms of the role, in terms of the culture. And you can do it during a coffee meeting, or you can actually do it like what we are doing right now, a Zoom meeting. And I still remember that I have a meeting with a HR leader, and we both love coffee. So we actually have the coffee in hand, and then we can actually ask questions, just like in a physical cafe. And next, we move on to number 3, prepare for the meeting. So there are actually 2 objectives to prepare for the meeting. First, you want to identify the key players you want to meet, and that will be your decision makers, your hiring managers. And of course, the next objective is to obtain information or data about the growth of hiring trends. What kind of people are they hiring? What kind of skill sets are they looking at? What kind of problems are they facing, and how are you able to resolve it? You need to prepare that as well. And of course, number 4, conduct the meeting. So you need to be professional. You must really give thanks to the person because you spend at least 20 to 30 minutes of your time. And you can actually do a 30 seconds introduction and offer your networking profile instead of a resume. So doing this, you ask questions and create a conversation. It's not so much on interviewing the person, but you kind of create a dialogue. And then you try to, during the conversation, once their trust is being built, you can obtain names of at least like 2 or 3 people in your desired field, preferably decision makers, because you want to make sure that you talk to the right person, or names that have contacts in your desired field. So in this conduct the meeting, there are actually 2 very important questions you want to ask. Okay, first is about who else do you know who might be willing to speak with me? Okay, and the second question is who do you know in what, who manages what? So this is actually very important. And then of course, we finish the meeting, make sure that when you say 20 minutes, it's 20 minutes. And finally, follow up the meeting. So I think many of them realize that networking is important, but not many of them actually follow up after that. In fact, follow up is a very important strategy. So you need to write them to thank you notes. You also ask to connect them on LinkedIn, and you also want to update them on your progress. So this is actually very important so that you keep them updated what you're going to do. So people will help those people who take their advice and they do it. Okay, they help the top performance, they help the doers. So please follow up, and this is the most critical step. So the golden rule of networking, very simple. First, you need to keep in touch always. Okay, and as Anna will be sharing on LinkedIn, right? So one of my strategy is to, like, once you connect on LinkedIn, you can actually either have a birthday, anniversary, or you can just like thank them, happy birthday. It's a very simple way of getting in touch. And secondly, it's a two-way and not one way. Remember, networking is actually benefit both and not just one way. A lot of times people thought networking is just to go to a conference to collect name cards, and then you maybe you ask certain things from the person, and that's why a lot of people thought that networking is easy, but it's not if it's done correctly and it's mutually supporting each other and help each other. That is the golden rule of networking. And finally, networking is a continuous process. Okay, it doesn't stop there. It's important to take action, even the smallest task, because you need to get the momentum running. So, and then even let's say you land a good job, you do not want to stop the process. Networking is a lifelong skill. You need to continue doing it. You need to build out your network, develop your network. Yeah, because who knows what will happen. Even there's a vaccine come out, maybe 2-3 years down the road, another pandemic will surface or another disruption will surface. By the time you have a very strong network to count on, and that is important. So make sure that you do it continuously, even when you are gainfully employed. Okay, And with that, thank you so much. I hope that this session will give you a little idea the importance of networking, especially during this pandemic situation. So over to you, Yumi. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nikki. This is a really you talk about a couple of quite interesting things, especially for me, it's a hidden job related things. You know, PERSOLKELLY Consulting, we surveyed, you know, in APAC wise, and more than 60% of our business leaders, they have hidden jobs internally, but they didn't post and they didn't share officially. But if they can find out, you know, potential candidate, they're willing to hire. So this is really good information, and definitely we can have, you know, one more section next year offline. Then it'll be great.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Exactly.
Really appreciate.
I'm Jay Shok from Kelly Services Korea. I'm working as a specialized consultant now for multiple industries in Korea. So today I'll be giving you some real examples as a recruiter, how I felt about this recruitment system in Korea, working with lots of multiple candidates and also lots of global and local companies in Korea. Yeah, let me start sharing my screen now, and then yeah, let's go on. So every day we meet lots of candidates, and we also work along very closely with lots of companies, especially global and also local conglomerates, for their hiring in Korea and outside of Korea as well. So during the pandemic, lots of companies suffered some interesting points that I would like to mention from my own expertise, such as lots of them, they felt unstable in terms of their business, especially for those who are relying on their export or the sales with overseas. And also lots of them, they were actually having like frozen their processes in hiring. So which also gave hard time for candidates to actually find a job or look for the opportunities for their next career. And as Anna was also mentioning that they are quite shortaging or freezing their budget for hiring, was also another point that we could experience, that they are not actually keen on opening lots of openings to hire a candidate. And moving along, as you know, that the inconvenience process in the hiring, many companies experiences such as they couldn't have face-to-face meetings with the candidates. They just like suddenly needed to move to the digital in order to meet the candidate for the interview. So lots of other lacking in the process we experienced as a recruiter in the market. And on the other hand, candidates in Korea that we actually worked or met every day during the pandemic through the digital, what we felt is they're quite feeling insecure in their current place because of the job scope and also the project shortage in their pipeline, right? And some of them, they're actually feeling also risky to move to somewhere else because they don't know how the situation is going to be there. And as you may have already experienced, many of you, that people started to work from home, and it affected to engage with their family and children as well, because they need to at the same time work and focus on their job, and they need to take care of their children during the pandemic, right? And it of course like made somehow affected to their efficiency of the work. And moving along, I'm sure that in our like webinar today, there are lots of hiring managers and candidates and company executives are participating. Many of you saw that how the automation of recruitment changed suddenly during the pandemic. I cannot say it's a good or bad, but everything moved from the traditional way to the digital. Let's say we used to have the face-to-face interviews, or we used to have the face-to-face network sessions, but everything now is online, which is, I think, is like experiencing as a convenience because it saves lots of people time, and also it's like an innovative that people are actually enjoying doing this automation of new automation of recruitment. And I would be loving to give you some information as a recruiter, hiring trends during the pandemic in Korea. So compared to before the pandemic and during the pandemic, lots of specific industries grew a lot compared to other ones, such as healthcare, including biotech and also life sciences, and manufacturing and IT and services, including future mobility. Those were the key industries, grew much higher than any other industry compared to before the pandemic, which gave lots of opportunities for the candidates and companies in these fields. And also, I'm sure that every of you actually experienced seeing these key words everywhere, such as new terms started to be used in the recruitment, such as analytical devices, digital facilities, remote, IoT, big data, AI. Those new words came into very active conversation during the pandemic. Moving along, I would like to give very important hint for the candidates to find a great career in Korea or outside of Korea during the pandemic. So lots of companies are going to be preparing or making these following things post-pandemic. So you should be taking a notes for here. So first, many of companies are going to prepare their top tier talent pool. So what does it mean? So they are going to be making their talent pool with expertise. So if you are thinking that you are going to grow or want to be one of the talent pool in a good company, so start improving your own skills, develop yourself so that you are going to be one of the star candidates in the client's list. And another thing that if you think in your current workplace is a great place for you to continue your career, or if you see that there is a potential for you to grow there internally, then please start from now on to develop yourself in terms of your skills and expertise, because post-pandemic situation is going to be that hiring managers will be highly improve the internal workforce compared to hiring from outside. So which means that if you're a current employee of any company, you will have a high chance to be promoted internally than they actually hire from outside. And moving along, what I also would like to tell you is that nowadays during the pandemic, many people are used to use the digital technology for their interview or job search or any other like company interaction like processes. So what I would like to tell you, you should be ready for the post-pandemic situation in order to improve your digital savviness, because now all the jobs, interviews, or the innovation, all of them are actually happening in the digital recruitment, right? Majority of them, of course. So please put efforts and also take some consideration on improving your personal development. And last but not least, I would be loving to give some strategies for advancing your career as a recruitment. So many candidates, even in this room, when they actually consider about new move, they think that applying is much important than targeting, right? But here, as a specialized recruiter, I would tell you that targeting is much important than the applying, because many people, they experience that they just apply to the position, they just wait for the feedback from the hiring manager, right? And then they think that why no one is contacting me back, and they think that I'm not qualified, or maybe their hiring system is not good or something else. But here is the, to be honest, if you targeted better, if you knew which company or what roles you are very capable of, then I'm sure that you would get some response from the hiring manager, right? And also many of us here, they always like think about big companies are the best than the SMEs. But here during the pandemic, according to the statistics and based on our experience with our clients, SMEs grew much higher or better, and also opened lots of job opportunities compared to the big companies. So please target on SMEs with your expertise. And for the post-pandemic and also even during the pandemic, please work on your developing your competitive advantages, because on this era, for the pandemic, many people are actually applying to the job. The niche market is quite high, which is also giving lots of hard times for candidates to be recognized. So if you actually can improve your comparative advantage, it's going to be a great benefit for you, for your successful career with your persuasive skills, because I want each of you to be recognized as an expertise in your like field. Okay, if you're an IT person, or if you're a healthcare person, if you're a finance person, please ask a question from yourself. Am I on trend in recruitment? Such as, do I know the terms in the current recruitment? And do I know what other active roles in my field that companies would like to hire? Or what other highly demanding positions in Korea or outside of Korea in the recruitment process? And after knowing these things, I'm sure that you can be like recognized as one of the good talents. And taking all these points into consideration, what the Nikki and also Anna was mentioning about the following things, and as an expertise in the recruitment, what I would like to tell you is that there are 3 tools that I would want you guys to pay attention and also develop continuously, such as, many of you are familiar with the LinkedIn. Many of you, you guys have the account on LinkedIn, but we see lots of profiles on LinkedIn. The candidates apply. They are applying to a position which is JD is given in English, but their profile is actually in Korean. So how hiring manager can accept or proceed that candidate? That's quite not good point, to be honest. So I want you guys to actually develop your LinkedIn profile so that whenever the hiring manager sees it, so you should be at the top rank or the list as a good candidate. And moving along, each of you are surrounded by a good mentors, I'm sure for that. If no, please start from today to be surrounded by a good professional experts in your field. Let's say if you are a web developer, then I want you to guys to be surrounded by a professional experts in web developer, because they know the top trends in the field, and you will be actually based on our experience during the pandemic, most of our actually candidates, they were also hired based on their network system with their professional experts, which is also a good point for you to try on. And last but not least, recruitment professionals are going to be a great person that I want you to meet and spend more time to discuss about your career development. Recruiters like me, we are not a person who just receives your resume and then gives to the client. We are also a person who gives you career consulting, who gives you career coaching, looking at your resume and hearing your expertise or career aspiration. We always give you a hint which flow is the best for your smooth career continuation. Taking all these points into consideration, what I would say that pandemic taught us lots of good things. I'm sure that you will get advantage of these things, and everything is going to be great with the positive achievements. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Shok. I will start from the question to Nikki. Nikki, are you there, right? Nikki, please. Hi, Nikki.
I'm here, yes.
Please,
Hi.
So very interesting question. Actually, I want to ask the same things. So networking, you mentioned, getting a job, you need networking is really essential, right? But networking, look at right now is the status, is a pandemic status. We cannot see each other, meet each other. So, as you understand, Koreans is really face-to-face is critical. Sometimes they needed to spend time together, and building the relationship is so critical. So it's right now we cannot do that. And as you mentioned, we need to meet only through Zoom and SNS. But still, it can be possible to make the networks, with the experts. Maybe, Nikki, so maybe you can add more comments about this, how we can build up our networks to get a better job.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, right now I'm in Singapore and you're in Korea. So without this video Zoom, I'm not able to do that. In fact, I just had a meeting with a HR leader, and we both love wine. And we had a glass of wine, and then we talk, and then we kind of imagine we are in the bar, but
Sure.
we are in a Zoom.
Really?
So
Then I
everything
need
is
to
being
add
done.
my background with the bars, right?
Yes, a kind of virtual background, you know, now
Yes.
the Zoom, so many ones. In
Sure.
fact, it's very, very interesting because you have more networking meetings right now compared to physical, because it's online, you know, 20 minutes, and then you move on 1 hour later, another meeting. So there's no excuse of not having networking meeting just because you can't meet. There's always a lot of video tools around.
Okay, thank you. I think definitely this part will be really helpful. As Shok presented, there are a couple of tools which we can use to network with the experts. Definitely, we need to really maximize to use that kind of tools. Definitely, that would be really helpful. Of course, in LinkedIn as well. So thank you so much, Nikki. So Shok, you mentioned about career counseling. So headhunters do career counseling.
Yes, exactly.
That's quite interesting because what can I say is headhunters, mostly they are getting their service fee from corporates, right? So doing the individual counseling, is it possible? So I never heard about that. So could you comment about this more?
Yes.
Maybe we need to understand more about that.
Sure. Okay, so when I mentioned about the career development or the personal development, it may include lots of points there, such as you can develop yourself by yourself, individually. Maybe you can just like learn from the mentors online or meet some mentors there, right? But other than that, in order to be on trend in the industry, I would ask each of our candidates or people to engage with the recruiting companies, because recruiters, they are up to trend with the hiring process, and they can give you career development program offerings, such as they may, let's say in our company, Kelly Services, we have our career development program, one-to-one engaging with each candidate based on their preference on their next career. We understand what they would like to continue or what they would like to do, not only in the career, maybe they would like to quit and then want to do their own business, right? Then we also give them the trend about this industry. So again, I'm telling each of the candidates to be not only sticking with the LinkedIn or the other job portals, but it's going to be a much better and productive if they engage closer with the recruiting companies and use their service, including the career development program or any other personal skill development programs.
Thank you so much. Right now, the time is almost done, but we have quite a lot of questions right now. But, may I get back to you with the answers? I will ask the speakers, the individually and get the answer. We'll post on the AMCHAM's websites. Very sorry, we cannot answer everything. But anyway, today's section was really appreciate, all the speakers, Nikki, Anna, and the show. Thank you so much for sharing your insights. I mean, definitely today, what you found out, the market is changing after, COVID pandemic. So it means, your strategy getting a job must be different with before. So think about newly, and Shok mentioned the new jobs, and Anna mentioned the new trends. Please think about different, and of course, definitely Nikki is a 3R. So we can do better opportunity to get a better job and a new job. So be positive, work more actively for searching new job. So thank you so much, everybody. Nikki and Anna and Shok, really appreciate your time. Also participants really appreciate. See you again on December 3rd, HR seminars again. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Yumi. Thank you.
So much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.